Good morning, everybody. We're about to get started here. It's 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Very excited for this next chat with my guest. Good morning, everybody. All right, good morning, everyone. My name's Richie, and I'm the founder of A Father's Truth. Now, before we get into today's live, I'd like to wish everybody out there a very special and happy Father's Day worldwide this Sunday. Now, gentlemen, brothers, I salute you, and I send guidance and strength on this day. I'd also like to dedicate this podcast to my children, Kaylin and Jacob. Your dad loves you very, very much, and you are my inspiration every waking second. Just believe, my guys. Just believe. All right, guys, I'm going to connect now with my next guest, and we're going to get started. Morning, Alston. Good morning, Jana.
Hi there, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me good?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for the lovely introduction. I also wanted to wish everyone a very happy Father's Day. I didn't have one growing up, so I value good fathers so much. And I know there is a lot of good men out there who have a difficult situation, and just so you know, we're here for you guys, and have a very blessed day, no matter what happens.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope everybody takes that message to heart. Now, for the people out there that don't know, my next guest is Jana Herde, and she's an expert in reunification coaching with fathers and their children. So please allow me to introduce her, and please give her a warm welcome to A Father's Truth. Now, Jana, I'd thank you for taking the time today to speak with me about a very tough subject. And you know as well as I do, you've had experience with this as well, and that's parental alienation. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got into this whole aspect of your career.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And for people who maybe are listening, thank you all for listening, for showing up. If you don't know me, here on Instagram, I am Jana Coaching, and what I do is I help fathers prepare and reconnect with their daughters, even if they haven't seen them in a long time. Classic case is, I haven't seen my daughter in 8 or 10 years. What do? How to approach this? Maybe, they say I've tried before, and the whole thing was a disaster. What did I do wrong? What can I do better? And also fathers who are being alienated from their children, or have been alienated and then have some kind of result. Either the divorce is finalized, they have some visitation, that they're having a hard time dealing with their children, with their exes. I also help them navigate that situation, minimizing the stress and the anxiety, finding strategies and tools that work for them. That's why my coaching often is very much one-on-one and tailored to the person. And I coach really more than 90% fathers. I sometimes have moms who reach out. Most of the time, it's either mothers who also suffer from alienation, or they grew up fatherless and find themselves now raising kids alone. repeating the cycle, and they woke up, which is great, and say, look, how can I help my kids not grow up the way I did? I don't want them to be biased and to believe that that's what life should look like. So how can I help them? That's basically what I do. I always try to explain it short, but not all my clients are the same. And I started doing it because, as I said already, I didn't have my father growing up, and sadly, he wasn't even alienated. I mean, sure, my mom and my dad had some disagreements, but they separated very early on when I was a baby. And my father was always welcome. That's why they actually had a quite nice relationship. Everybody knew them. Like, oh yes, that's so and so, you know, and that's the mother of his child, and they have a nice relationship. But with the years, that wasn't that good anymore because my mom started to ask him for some help, and he said no because he didn't see the need. He said, well, you're doing fine on your own. But I was ill, so my mom was worried, and I needed a lot of attention. So she said, can you please like contribute with a little bit, whatever you can give me? And he said no, he didn't want to do that. He had other priorities, I guess. So that's why I know how it feels when your father tries to reconnect with you later in life and does everything wrong, basically has the wrong approach, doesn't understand the child's emotions and what it did to her, that he wasn't there, maybe only showed up a few times in her whole childhood. And this is how my coaching was initially born, because I always had men reaching out to me and saying, look, I have this problem with my daughter, what do I do? Can I ask her this question? Is this too much? So there is when my coaching method a little bit was born as what I call reconnection training, and it evolved over time. So I've been shooting out content for 3 years online now. Before that, I wasn't online, so nobody knew what I did except the people next to me. And I moved to the new continent almost 2 years ago, so that's why I can work in Eastern time zone all year long now, which is amazing.
It is, and that's how we're connecting this morning.
Yes.
Because of that. I just wanted to touch on something that, you know, you had been around now online for 3 years, and you know, we've basically been online about the same time. We followed each other, and I think the biggest thing with people like us that are bringing this to the attention is the awareness that a lot of people just don't see. And you know, I know in Canada here that it's a problem that is constantly swept under the rug. Now,
Yes.
I'd like to know if you find these experiences with the fathers that you talk to, that this is the type of feelings that they come across when they're speaking with you, is that, you know, they feel hopeless, they feel that they're not listened to, and, you know, they're just actually looking for really somebody that will listen to them, and you're able to offer that. So, you know, how often would that come across with somebody that you would speak to about these situations?
Every single day, pretty much. I mean, today, I was a bit late with everything I wanted to do before coming on here, but well, it doesn't matter. It's life. I live in the tropics, so I don't pay attention to time that much anymore. And then I switched on my phone. I try to not do that first thing in the morning, so I switched it on like 15 minutes ago, really. And then I saw a message of a father who had been in a first consultation with me, who just wanted for me to give him an overview, to give him some ideas. And I knew that he had a court date. He was preparing for that very well. I mean, it's a father who was very focused. I wasn't worried in that sense. I knew that he was going to be able to do everything to prepare for court. I mean, he really was that focused and had the energy for it, which is great, and which doesn't always happen. So he just messaged me, and I saw his message first thing in the morning today saying, I just got roasted in court. I had all the evidence. I prepared very well, and he ruled against me. He accused me of lying when actually she was the one lying, and everybody knows. And he said, welcome to the state of California, where people are rewarded for lying in court. That's what he said. So, and I told him, like, I'm so sorry. I know it isn't really a relief or isn't really changing anything, but I'm with you. You're not alone. And sadly, this is so common. And yes, my Canadian clients, it's exactly the same. You never know what you're going to get, and that's the worst part. I mean, it's not that you think, okay, if I follow these rules, this is the outcome I can get. And this is, I guess, how it becomes so stressful, and so, you know, so many fathers suffer from anxiety and panic attacks, because it's something where you don't know the rules, and you never can be sure that if you follow certain steps and rules, you're going to be fine. So it's actually like psychological torture. You know, it's like having someone in your house and saying, okay, if you follow these rules, you're safe, but then they start to follow them, and you mistreat them anyways. I mean, that's something people do, I think, to actually torture people,
I
you
know.
know, that kind of psychological abuse. I mean, and that's the way I see it when you deal with family court and you have an ex who's just not transparent, who doesn't care about the children more than about punishing you or being right herself. It is awful. And you're right, many fathers start reaching out because they say, I just can't talk about this with anyone because people don't get it, because they ask funny questions that hurt me, like things like, oh, I don't believe this can happen. Come on, I mean, a judge must see. Why don't you reach out to your children? So they don't know, and you can't blame them because nobody teaches you this stuff. So sometimes they come and talk to me and they don't have a specific thing yet that they want to get done with my help. They just say, I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind, I just want to talk for now, because, you know, I just don't know who else to talk to. And that's completely fine. And you often can take it from there then and see if you can offer some help. Sometimes I point them to different people that I think can help them with that specific issue. I often recommend them to talk to Alan Donovan or to James Christensen, or, you know, to the people who are really the experts in the legal field. Or, you know, sometimes it's really people who need a therapist first. Many of my clients have therapists, which is kind of funny. A lot of them work simultaneously with a therapist and with me. Others don't talk to a therapist anymore because they say, well, she was great or he was great, but they didn't get what parental alienation does to me. So it is interesting because there was no preconceived structure for me to know how to do what I do. So it can give you a lot of freedom, but it also can be tricky in the beginning. And I'm learning every day, also from people like you. That's why I follow many, many people, and I like to talk to as many people as possible, because I think it's something we have to do together. If we really want to help people who listen, it's better if we don't do it all by ourselves, if we really do things together. So
I agree.
yeah.
And that's, you picked up on a good point there. And, you know, it's all about unity. Parental alienation is parental alienation. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada. It doesn't matter if you're in the US, Australia. It doesn't matter where you are. These situations, they're happening every day in our court systems. And, you know, it is way more common than people actually think. Like and you picked up on it very good, where, you know, what I'm going to say is that you're being judged, you know, especially if you're dealing with false allegations. I'm going to tell people right now, on a personal level, and with what I've been doing with advocacy for the last almost 4 years, when you're dealing with false allegations, you can almost be 100% sure that you're going to, or you have already been alienated. And I think you would probably agree with that most silver bullet cases that are in the court system, there is parental alienation that is exactly attached to that, as well as, you know, these things are narcissistic traits, that a narcissist has no actual boundaries necessarily when it comes to what they want to control. And especially when we're dealing with divorce and child custody, when you're dealing with a narcissistic person like this, they want full control of what you're doing at all times. And when they can't control that, they then start to control your children. And this is the type of work that you do. I know that you see it every day. I've watched a lot of your lives, and, you know, this is a very common thing. Again, that doesn't matter where you are, anywhere in the world, it can happen.
Yes, and this is also important for people to know. I often see people that when they comment on stuff or tell me, oh, I think you're not right, this doesn't work like that all the time, or it depends on the state, And I always say, look, I don't live in the US. I don't go there often. And I come from Europe. So I deal with people from all over the globe. And it's a global problem. It's not only in your state or that you can tell a father, oh no, but I think that's a bit exaggerated. You never know where this person lives, which people he's dealing with. And I mean, in Germany also, you got a lot of fathers, and the family court is really, really biased against fathers most of the time. So on one hand, you know, Germans are very good at collecting information. They're very good at being efficient, at looking at stuff, at really at writing things down, so they can be so efficient when it comes to having it all on paper and not missing stuff. And but then when it comes to family court, you have the feeling always, and I think it's not only a feeling, that you're always at the mercy of a person and their personal ideology and construct and mindset and experience. And what do you do if in the system you have social workers, you have psychologists that are appointed by the courts, you have, in Germany, you even had a lady who, in my case, I was very lucky because the lady had a lot of common sense. She was also like sent by the court to go to your home, to look at your living conditions, to talk to your child, to talk to you. Then she went and talked to the dad, you know, because they wanted a person like in the field to look at the situation, who then could say, okay, if she saw something strange, or if the kid was fine, you know, if the parents were, I don't know, talking normally, or if there was crazy stuff going on. Then you have the people in this kind of place from the government where they're supposed to protect the children's rights. They also get involved when there is a divorce with children to like make sure everything's fine with the kids. But a lot of them are women, middle-aged women, and you never know if they're biased against men themselves, if they maybe have seen so many abusive dads that they even don't see it, if it's a woman who's really treating the kids, you know, in ways that are really not okay, not healthy for them. I mean, it depends so much on the person you pick. And I've witnessed cases with friends also where they said, fine, mom just, you know, I just called to say that there is an abusive situation in my ex's home, and that's why I won't give my daughter back to her house until this is resolved somehow. I actually advised him to do that as a friend back then. I said, look, if it was my kid, you know, I wouldn't bring her back to that house, because what kind of a father are you if you put her in a place where you know she's being harmed? I mean, you can't do this. So he said, you think? And I said, look, I can't tell you to do anything, but I think you have nothing to lose. So that's what I would do. And he did, and it actually was pretty successful. But I remember him saying that then when he called where he was supposed to call to report this, they said, oh, she already called, meaning his ex, and she said that you're inventing it all, that it's just because you're mad at her because she has a new boyfriend. And they never talked to the child. They never sent anybody in you know, a neutral person to talk to the kid who maybe is trained to do that, you know, to detect any kind of coaching or whatever. And so he also, that's what he told, he had a background in law, so he could talk to them in a way that I think came across very serious or very competent. And he told them, like, with all due respect, you never have talked to my kid, you haven't seen my daughter, you haven't heard anything. So why you just believe parents who call? They can invent anything. And no, I'm going to court, she can fight it. And actually in his case, I remember the judge took the time to write an 8 pages he wrote as a final report explaining why that mother wasn't fit to raise her daughter, and he would give full custody to the dad. This happens, it is true. Fathers are also successful on the first run, but it isn't the norm.
No.
And sadly, you know, yesterday I was talking to another dad who had like a first win, that he went to court, he went well prepared, he dressed appropriately, he did all people advised him to do. He even went with his girlfriend who helped him prepare everything. The judge saw it and was super impressed by their attitude, and the mom came just without preparing. He said that she looked like she hadn't even looked at herself in the mirror in the morning, so that came across like not really serious, like, where do you think you're going, you know? You don't even know where you're going, it seems, or you don't really care much. That's how it comes across, I'm sorry. And the judge caught her lying and didn't take her really seriously, so he had a first win. But then he was so happy, and guys, I say this to warn any of you, if you're then so happy that finally you have your kid in your house because she's been forced to do the visitation correctly because the judge just was cool and saw it all and saw through her BS. And then you're happy and you say, okay, now I have my daughter. That's great. I feel so relieved. The next court date is in, I don't know, in August. And well, I have to give her back on Monday. So if I see anything this time, I'll go really hard on it. And I said, why next time? If you have proof and evidence collected that she already neglected and endangered your daughter many, many times in the past, that your daughter is not well, she's traumatized by this whole thing. I said, don't be too happy too quick and see what you're going to do now, because she is probably already plotting against you. What lies she's going to tell. She only needs to call and say, you touched your daughter inappropriately and you lost. You never know if the judge is going to really, you know, believe you a second time or a third time. And he said, really? And I said, look, I don't have a crystal ball. I cannot see it, but I see it way too often that you guys are good guys, you're fair, but then you lose because you're being too nice and you trust the process too much. And you think, well, now that they gave her a slap on the wrist, because come on, they're not really punishing her for lying and for being in contempt, actually. They just told her, you shouldn't do that. Please hand the kid over so he can have his visitation. And then he said, well, I actually saw that she was, you know, her license plate was from another state, and I fear that, and I said, come on, so you don't know what she's planning. She could be gone next Monday. And this is the sad thing. I see too many fathers still lose, and I know it sounds bad, guys, it's not to offend you or anything, but too many fathers are too nice in a stage of the process where being nice and fair and trusting is not going to help you, because like you said, listen to this man here, you're dealing with a person who probably has a personality disorder or is not really well balanced like you. Is not dealing with common sense like what we would call normal. So she doesn't care about you being fair. She wishes you don't look, you know, that you're too naive so she can do her stuff and win, basically. And that's something I always try to tell people. You, of course, can be positive and celebrate the wins, but be alert if you still don't have a final, let's say, outcome that ensures that the kid is safe, especially if there has been neglect, abuse, and whatever on the other side, you know. And I'm sorry, this was a bit long, but I really feel strongly about this, and it makes you very, very sad to see good fathers lose and to see the kids being in a dangerous situation, because it is dangerous. A kid being manipulated, being with people that are not good for them, you know, and losing a parent who's actually sane and will take care of them. That's tragic. It shouldn't be happening.
You're exactly right. And I just wanted to pick up on something that you said about judges and, you know, how they look at these cases and that personal ideology that you said. And it's very, very true in the family court system. You know, the family court system, they don't have to follow the criminal system. So any type of false allegations that are brought out, whether or not they're in an affidavit or not, these parents, I'm going to use the term loosely, but these parents, they're never punished for the actions that they've taken, you know, to try and ruin that other person's life because they didn't get what they wanted. And, you know, it's a shame, because I also have experience in the law as a paralegal student. And, you know, I worked in a law office that dealt with all family law cases, which is actually where I first heard the term the silver bullet. And I, you know, it's a huge moneymaker. And
yes,
I always preach that, you know, our family court systems, they thrive on conflict of the destruction of the family unit. And it is so common nowadays that the only way that we can raise awareness is like what we are doing right now, by sharing these stories, getting the information out there, giving the truth of these stories out there, and, you know, just telling people, and more importantly, telling men out there that you can have a voice. You have to stop.
You can.
That's right. You have to have that voice for yourself, but more importantly for our kids. It's not a future that I want to see my kids in. You know, divorce rates are steadily climbing. It's an epidemic. I've always said that parental alienation is an epidemic that we're sweeping under the rug and we're not paying too much attention to. But the amount of problems that arise out of, you know, these decisions where one parent that should not have custody is getting that custody, and the only reason why is because of the personal ideology that these judges have, that most times are biased, and they will place this biasness on the not the respondent, sorry, but the respondent is always the one that has the control in these cases. It doesn't really matter what the situation is. You could be falsely accused, you could be alienated, you could be not paying child support. That respondent is actually very important in our system here in Canada. And I'm sure you get that a lot, where there's men that, you know, we've just gone to work, we raise our kids, we do this, we do that, and then boom, all of a sudden it just happens. And, you know, people get flustered, they don't know what to do, they shut down, they have that complete fear of that family court system, that they already know that walk in there, you're guilty before you're proven innocent. And in a lot of cases, you're guilty, and then you're guilty, and then you're guilty, and then you're guilty. And it's a cycle, it's a snowball effect that is just continuing to rise, and not just here in Canada, but it's globally. And, you know, it's very important. It's very important that, that's okay, but it's very important that we continue these discussions and people share these discussions as well. It's, you know, it's one thing to watch it or maybe watch 10 minutes of it, but the very important thing is that we share these stories so that it can be global and the awareness can be there and people can watch out for these things beforehand.
Yes, and also help their friends, you know, because I've talked always to men who sometimes tell me, well, they don't tell me this all the time, but then I see that it's always the same thing that they say, like, well, you know, you can tell your buddy, like, this woman isn't good for you. You can't say this to them. And I'm like, well, no, you cannot, but you can be honest and say, look, you know that there's many fathers who end up losing the kids, like, be careful, this doesn't look good. And then point them to the places where they can get educated. Tell them, look, go on social media. There is people who explain these things to you, because many fathers, I mean, they get depressed and it becomes so bad that they're unable to function, that they're facing bankruptcy, that they can't work anymore, because they didn't believe that their ex-wives could become so vicious. They don't believe that such evil is possible, that they would do that to the kids. And that's actually where a lot of them also, you know, you see them and you know, oh my God, they're like walking to the slaughterhouse, because they still can't believe that these people do these things and that the court won't care. And yesterday when I had this father saying, oh, I had a small win, it was so good, the judge believed me. And then he said that he wrote it down. He said, oh, next time it's going to be great because I caught her committing perjury 3 times. And I said, they're not going to care. She's not gonna, they're not gonna fine her with, you know, they're not gonna punish her or anything for lying. They're just gonna say, you shouldn't do that. Probably, I said, unless the judge is really unusual and he says, look, I'm really fed up with this now, lady, you're doing this all the time. I said, but probably they're not gonna do anything because it's civil matter. This is not criminal court. I said, and he said, I don't understand it. Why won't they care? And I said, well, if you're really still at this stage where you really can't believe that they won't care, I said, then you need to talk to the people I told you again. They're going to explain to you very well why you shouldn't, you know, go in there with this predisposition that, oh, it's fine because they're going to call, you know, catch her lying and they're going to be on my side. And I said, look, this is the nightmare, that family court doesn't work like most people think it works. So it's like going into a movie to see Titanic, but you end up seeing something completely different and you're really confused and you say, oh my God, I paid to see the Titanic movie. Why are they playing something else? You know, this is, and they say, well, you never know what you're going to get, right? But you have to pay anyways and behave. And we can even throw popcorn on your head or do whatever. And then you're out of there and you look terrible and you're super confused and people run over you and you say, oh, I just thought that's the way it works, that I know what I'm going to do in there. It's not the same. It's really not the same. So this is the first thing I tell them. It doesn't work the way most people think it works. And you need to understand that, because it ends up being a game that you need to know how to play.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Yeah, what you
you need to know that. I mean, look, there is someone here happening in Australia, everywhere. Men in most, behavioral courses are telling blah, 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 a similar story. I spent, wow, 250K. Well, I always ask a father whenever they come to my consultation, the first consultation where I get to meet them, and I always ask them just for my own information, my own data, like how much have you spent in legal fees so far? It started at 40K is a number where it usually starts if someone has already been in this for longer than 6 months or something, and it goes up to more than $1 million. I got a father who said, and it was a father who had the money, so you're like double cursed if you have money, because then they're gonna, just try to milk you like a cow, basically. And this man told me, like, well, I have the best law firm in Texas working on my case. I said, okay, for how long? How long has this been going on? He said 5 years. I said, and you still don't have a really fair outcome to see your kids? He said, no, but they're really on it. And I said, look, I'm sorry to say this with all due respect, that these people are not the best law firm. They're maybe the most expensive one. They're the best ones in taking your money, but they're not really solving anything, are they? I said, I would fire them. They're working for you. You're paying them. And he was, he was surpassing the $1 million, and he didn't see his kids. So if that isn't a business scheme, tell me what is.
That's why family laws.
Yes, and then you start digging deeper, and I don't know if this is in Canada is the same, and I hope they don't shut down our life because I'm saying this, because, well, I know this crazy stuff happens. Ask the judge where his retirement is coming from, who pays for his retirement, and I'm going to leave it here. You people can guess in the comment sections what pays for the judges, general attorneys, all these people, who pays for their retirement, for all of them as a collective. Put it in the comments. Guess. I'm not going to say it because maybe then they're going to ban this gentleman here if I say it.
You're right.
Where do you think it comes from? Really, put it in the comments. Let's see if you guess right. And then you will understand a big part of this system and where the, follow the money. So where does the retirement of the judges come from? And that's why I say it's never going to change radically until these judges don't fear losing their seats and their jobs. And if more fathers know about the law, people say legal fees, lawyers, no, that's not where their retirement comes from. Dig deeper. There is a few videos on YouTube with people explaining it very carefully, with details like which laws are in place, title so-and-so. How do we expose this? Well, look at James Christensen, Alan Donovan, this gentleman here. They even go to judges' houses with something telling them, judge so-and-so, case number, gave kids to abusive parent,
Mm-hmm.
You have to expose them, and you have to know the law very well. So when you're in court, you can point out to them if they're doing something wrong. Often judges do things in court that they shouldn't be doing, things that they're actually, that are forbidden for them to do, like testifying themselves, saying things they shouldn't be saying, So you need to know the game so well. Someone says bar. No, not the bar. That's not where they get their retirement from. Think about the money you pay for your kids, even if you don't see them. What's that money called? What's that money called?
We're waiting for
I already said it.
Yeah.
We're waiting for someone to write it in there. And please, once this is recorded on his profile, you comment again, because all these comments are going to be lost. I don't know why Instagram does this, but go again and comment the important things. Ask the important questions so people who see it later can see the questions, learn from that, and ask questions too. Because this is what we need to happen. Child support. Yes. Bingo.
There you go.
Bingo. Is this a light bulb moment for people here? Now you start understanding why they do what they do?
And the reason, I want to touch on this because the reason why it is, and I don't have the actual stats here in Canada, but in the United States, because of people like us that have stood up to this and shared this information, in the United States, 66 cents of every dollar gets put back into the child support system.
Yeah.
So that's where money goes. That's where your fees and everything
Yeah.
go to the courts. They go to the child support services. Here in Ontario, it's called the Family Responsibility Office, which we term it FRO. That's where it goes. That's where these judges get all this money. That's why they go on these trips. They have big yachts. They can retire very comfortably off of our conflict through the child
Yeah.
support.
Exactly. I mean, I heard this guy who is very well read, and he knows all these things, how it works in the state. And I don't know if he was talking about a particular state. Yes, he was. And he was talking about a case where the mom and the dad had been divorced for years, but they were co-parenting just fine. You know, they never had to go to court. And because one parent was making considerably less money than the other, they just arranged between the two of them, which is amazing. You know, okay, I'm going to send you this money monthly, like as child support anyway, it's fine, you know. So they took care of it so they both could work. So the kid was always with one of the parents. And it worked fine for several years. And at a certain point, they said, look, we don't need the child support thing anymore. We can just go and have like 50-50 officially and no child support, because like something had changed in their lives and they were able to do that. So they said, great. And someone found out, and before they went to court, that like the system sent in a lawyer to tell them they couldn't do this. Like, no. So they actually didn't want this to be done because the child support would be gone.
That's correct. It takes your case and the conflict out
Yes.
of that system, and they don't.
Yes, and but people, and if you allow me, I mean, I just want to tell people that the legal stuff to know how to play this game is super, super important if you're going to fight for custody. But the other part of it is the whole emotional part of the journey, and how you're going to prepare in case your kids end up seeing you more often again, or you win custody or something. How do you prepare so you can repair that relationship that has been very difficult or sometimes even impossible? How do you deal with yourself? Because if the stress is very high for years, you know, once it is resolved, you know what happens sometimes. All that stress falls on your head, and then you say, oh, why am I feeling so bad? Now that it's resolved, I should feel better. Well, you have been too anxious and stressed for too long. So it could be a problem later to regulate that again. So it's always, I mean, I'm trying to say it in a simple way. Some fathers have the best legal advice, but they cannot implement it because they're not in the right place. So if you're not well, so, you know, it doesn't matter how much of a good legal advice or lawyer or support person you have. If you're not focused enough, you don't sleep well enough, you cannot think critically, reason, and retain information anymore. You start making stupid mistakes because you're too stressed, too anxious, you're afraid all the time. It's not good. So sometimes people need support first to level these things out and to be able to look at things from a sometimes even neutral perspective, which is very difficult to do. And that's where people like me come in. I can have a neutral perspective 100% of the time because I'm not emotionally involved. It's not my case, it's not my kids. So I maintain like an umbrella for my clients and say, look, remember you have this in place. Don't forget about that. Oh, yeah, okay. I was so nervous, I already forgot. Or look, keep in mind how your kids are seeing it. It's different than how you see it or how your ex sees it. How do you react? So it's not important to win all the time, but your kids are better. You know, it can be very complex, and you need to maintain everything in check somehow and be able to navigate it without having panic attacks every single day. And it's just an example. So that's why it's sometimes not enough to have the best lawyer, because if you're not well balanced, you're saying things on the phone you shouldn't be saying, you have reactions that are jeopardizing everything, or you end up even endangering your kids because you do things, you know, out of impulses that are very easy to understand for me, but the judge won't care.
That's right.
You know, and that's why you might need a person who helps you with that.
Yes,
Just wanted to say
yeah,
it.
no, I agree. And, I was waiting for the word to come out of your mouth. It's all about finding a balance.
Yes,
And I've I've preached this, and it's a very difficult process when you're going in this. And there's somebody that in the comments they mentioned PTSD. Absolutely correct. 100.
absolutely.
You're going to get PTSD from this experience. I have PTSD. I have anxiety from being a child. I know how it feels like, and it is the exact same feelings. The feelings of hopelessness,
Yes,
that nobody's listening, that you are useless in this world. You're going to have all of those feelings, and like you said, and like I know, it's all about balance. It's about a full belief in yourself that you're going to have a tough road ahead of you. This journey's not going to be easy,
yeah,
but you're not alone. And I've told that many other people that you have to find these no matter what people, like your people, that no matter what happens, you can always count on them, even if it's
yeah,
just a conversation. And that's the
yeah,
thing that men like me and all over the world have, is that it's trying to find that balance, trying to find that no matter what person, but they're there. And we both know it. We see it every day. We're involved with it. I talk with men all over the world as well. Like you, I
mm-hmm.
met the gentleman from Australia yesterday, and he was crying to me because of the fact that he hasn't seen his kids, and it's been 4 years as well for him,
Yeah.
and going through such a struggle right now out there.
It is
And
absolutely horrible. I mean, I remember I always like, talking about people that are real people that I know, because maybe you can identify with that. I know there is a John and a Michael, and out there in the world, a version of me even, I bet, somewhere. And I remember this client from the UK who was remarried with a lady who was a bit younger than him. They had 2 kids. They were super happy. But he had a child who was older already, but for 8 years, he hadn't seen her because mom just moved somewhere in Europe and he didn't know where his child was. And not even the police helped him. It was like, well, she's with her mother, and he was like, yeah, well, yes, I suppose she is, but where? I don't know if she's dead or alive. So, for example, his problem was that this problem, let's say this problem sometimes was running his life. So he couldn't enjoy his daily life. He was angry often. He couldn't be present and fully pay attention to things that actually were beautiful that he had in his life. So this issue still had so much authority over him that he couldn't really disconnect. And I know it's difficult. You say, oh, okay, of course the guy cannot disconnect. What are you talking about? Like, you're dumb, But sometimes it even depends on how well you can learn to deal with it so it doesn't run your life. So it's a problem that is there in a virtual box, and when you open it, you deal with it. But then you can close it and laugh with your kids. And for example, with him, that's what he needed to learn. And then he told me, like, look, of course, it's still not resolved, but I deal with it so much better that now I have a better job. I could focus on different things. We moved to a better area. My wife is so happy, but he was just stuck in life because this issue was running him. So sometimes it might not be reversible, but you can learn how to deal with it in a way that you're also preparing for the moment when you can see her again someday. You're going to be well off. And I always told him, I said, look, if your daughter could see you right now, she would say, look, you don't have to be sad because of what mom is doing. You cannot be constantly depressed because of what she is doing or the decisions she's making. Be well because I'm going to be back, and you need to be well enough to catch me. And this is something that I know is very difficult for people to digest, because they say, yeah, well, what do you want me to do with this, to feel happy all of a sudden? I know it's hard, but it really often depends on how you learn to deal with it. It can improve the quality of your daily life. It can give you different outcomes. It can put you in a position where you come across people that will be able to help you, show you opportunities that you've been looking for. But as long as this alienation thing and the court thing is running your whole life, it's like you're living on autopilot and everything is happening on the side and you don't even participate in it. And I don't want fathers to live like that, because it's not fair to you.
Yeah, you know, and that actually what you just said hit me actually, because I'm guilty of those things, and I can admit that, because it's very hard to find a balance. And you know, like I said, when you're going to get PTSD throughout this, and when you've already had it, and it's a lifelong thing, these type of situations, you're going to get triggered. It's a huge trigger for anybody that deals with mental health. You know, again, it's all about balance. For myself, I'm very spiritual, so I meditate on a daily basis every night before I go to bed.
Awesome.
That's what it's playing, and you know, that truly helps me. And like I said, it's all about balance. So when I'm speaking with the father about it, and you know, they're in a very dark place, these are the type of things that I like to share, just the personal experiences, but to let them know that you have to find that balance. Like you said, you can't focus on this all the time. They're an outside life as well to maintain that balance. And it is okay to be a fighter like we do. You know, that's where you need to focus your attention on.
And by the way, by you being focused on that all the time, worrying all the time, feeling, you know, vibrating, your body vibrating very low and very slow all the time, it doesn't help your child feel any better. It doesn't solve the situation sooner. It only limits you in your ability to make decisions, to react quicker, to experience joy. I mean, you need to be able to experience happy moments too, because otherwise, you know, these negative emotions dominate. And I think I'm just going to throw this out there because probably it's not really scientific, but I know this is scientific, this part, that women on average experience more negative emotion than men. It starts in puberty. They're not really sure why exactly, but we can guess, or many scientists guess, that it's because we are wired differently. We need to be able to have a child in our arms that maybe can cry for 8 hours straight because something's wrong, and we don't throw that child out the window, right? So you need to be able to cope with negative emotion as a female. So it seems to be a possible explanation. So men, you guys are not used to deal with the amount of negative emotion that we are used to deal with. You're wired differently. Your brain is different, and the whole how your hormones work, everything is different. So I believe that that's really a factor that should be looked at how something like parental alienation, which is absolutely unnatural for a father because it keeps you from protecting, loving, and providing for your child correctly, which is inherently, you know, father's duties, or, you know, the qualities that a father has, what he gives to his kids. So once he cannot do that anymore, your body doesn't have an immediate response to solve that. There is like, how do I fix it? I can't. So what? Well, I don't know. And what? And this is going to go on for 3 years. And what do I do if I can't fix it? So, of course, a father, a man, wants to fix it. He feels responsible. He doesn't want to abandon his kids. So all of that, and then you put the anxiety and the negative emotion on top. I think that is totally against what a father's nature usually is. And that's why I guess, this is myself from my experience with so many fathers out there, and that's why I think it's especially difficult, because what response do you have to that? If I throw you into a lake and I know you cannot swim, your body has a response to that. You know, it tries to move, you know, you try to move your arms, and it's something you do instinctively. I don't have to tell you to do that. But when something like that happens, I take your child from you and you cannot fix it. And guess what? You can't protect your child anymore. I can do whatever. There is nothing your body or your head automatically does to solve it or to survive. And I know this maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know if I explain it very well, but I think that's why it is so hard. And I have told people multiple times, parental alienation is like throwing you into a pool knowing you cannot swim and you don't know if you're going to get out.
That's right. You're always put in that survival mode mentality.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. Is survive.
And that modifies something in your brain to be constantly with a flight or fright, you know, response, always vigilant, and always anxious, it messes, it messes up something in your brain. Luckily, you can heal that actually.
Yes, you can. You
But
definitely can.
I used to suffer from asthma and from very high anxiety when I was younger. So when I went to see a therapist, a good therapist later in my 30s, and he said, look, he was a neuropsychologist, and he said, look, all these moments of high anxiety, feeling that you couldn't breathe, that you were basically dying, and all that trauma from childhood, and you have a very high anxiety anyways, he said that does something to your amygdala, to a part of your brain. So that's why you cannot hold on to positive thoughts for too long. And we need to rebuild that, and that needs a lot of practice. So I needed to meditate even more and to practice resetting my brain, really. And that's also what I do with some of my clients. Like, you need to practice the positive self-talk, and there is a way you phrase these thoughts. So your brain cells really can change these connections over time. So the patterns are different. And I know we're maybe going into very deep stuff here, but it really helps. I mean, if you suffer from so much stress and anxiety, you can help change something in your head. So that's why exercising also is so beneficial. You need to be active.
Yes, I agree. It all boils down to finding, again, that balance. Whether it be exercise, meditation, playing guitar, hanging out with friends, going for a drive even, these are things that will help you in the long run. And, they're very difficult situations that with the anxiety levels that you will have throughout these processes, not seeing your kids, the traumatic experiences that you may face at the very beginning, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And, steps that need to be taken. And again, it's all about the balance. All about balance. And, keeping focused on what you truly want out of your situation is all about focus. Yeah.
Look, someone says, I have done push-ups every single day this year, January 1st on, not one day missed, on God. Big help. Yes, of course. I mean, you guys know that your muscles, this is something they have found out in the last decade or something that is really new, or was a new finding when it came out, that actually when you tighten your muscles by exercising, it can be something really simple like the push-ups or whatever, actually your muscles produce kind of a hormone or whatever. I don't know if it has a name or not. And that actually protects you from stress, from depression. So that's why it makes a lot of sense when people say, oh, you feel depressed, go hit the gym and eat well. Go hit the gym and eat well. Because your muscles really do a big job. I mean, that's why people who do manual labor, they can do it for so many years and they don't get depressed, because your body is like taking care of you. It's actually a great machinery, you can really use it in a way that it works for you. And this is what you need to do. Deal with the situation in a way that whatever you have that can work for you, works for you. So you're not always feeling that you're, I don't know, juggling balls and any moment chaos can happen and you're always, suffering. Chaos will happen anyways, but the better equipped you are, getting good advice, knowing the law, being healthy, being fit, keeping your thoughts, positive, keeping your focus, having good relationships. That's also something we know today. I mean, they did this study since 1980, one of the longest studies they have done. The people who were more healthy in the end were the ones who had meaningful relationships, not the ones who ate better. Shocker, right? Because of course the nutrition does a lot, but they saw that the ones who were more well balanced and aged well and stuff were the ones with meaningful relationships. So don't stop having meaningful relationships with people just because you can't see your child. Some parents, I think, even punish themselves a little bit. They unconsciously believe, how can I be happy if my child is over there and I'm over here? But you don't deserve you don't have to do that to yourself too. Like, it isn't all your fault. You were just put in a horrible situation.
Yes.
That's how I see it.
For sure. And you're right. A lot of men are gonna feel exactly what you
Yeah.
just said, and it you know, you're not alone, and there's these feelings of hopelessness. You know, you have to, again, find this balance, because it will eat you alive. And getting thrown in
Yeah.
the court system, they want to break you. You know this from experience, that this is what the court systems are made to do, is they're made to break a parent, because by breaking that parent, that conflict is always there. And this is how they thrive, is by the conflicts that are created. Sometimes it's not even created by us. You know, it's that court system that is creating the conflict. It's a never-ending cycle, and it has to come to a point where, with my motto, enough is enough. Because where I speak with fathers on a daily basis, I've been doing it for 4 years. I've probably talked with over 1,000 fathers in that time period. Not all of them are here today to be able to talk about
Yes.
their story. And that's the biggest thing, you know, with mental health, is that men feel like we can't speak about these things. And then, you know, some of these men, it becomes tragic. And you know, with June being Mental Health Awareness for Men, you know, that's why I felt that it was very important to start broadcasting these lives, and getting people what they're talking about, and have been there to share this stuff, because we all know that it gets swept under the rug, and it's time that we take it out and bring it to the light.
Yes, you have mentioned men's mental health. It's so interesting. I was at a podcast that I was invited to, also from Canada. It's called Super Daddy Club, and they have a podcast, and it's on, I don't know, everywhere where you can listen to podcasts. We recorded 2 episodes. I don't know if we're going to do a third, because the guy said, oh, there's so much to unpack, you know, can you come back? And I said, yeah, sure. So I don't know when they're going to air, but he asked me about male suicide relating to parental alienation, and I said, well, yes, sadly that happens more than we think, probably. And I saw ones that, I mean, a quite recent study, I think done at UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. Google this, folks, please. And it was a study from a year ago, so it's very, very recent. And they were looking at male suicide, different age groups, men that had committed suicide in a certain time frame. And they said that they were surprised to see that most men who committed suicide, there was no mental illness. So it's not always mental health related when it comes to men. It's different than in women. So they said that in certain age groups, there was a history of some kind of mental health problems, but the majority, if you took them all as a whole, the majority had no history of mental illness. And they also said that also a big number of them, of the ones who committed suicide, had been reaching out at least once or even twice, had been to places where there is suicide prevention, you know, help of that sort, and they had all been deemed as not at risk. So it is important to speak about it and to really verbalize it. If you really fear you could do something to yourself, say it very clearly. And with this, I don't mean that these men were all guilty because they just didn't speak. The professionals didn't see it. So what kind of people do we have there? What kind of questions do they ask? How can, you know, it gets you thinking, how do they work? So many fathers who actually were there because they thought they needed help, and they didn't really see the markers, or I don't know what they were looking for, that they didn't see it, and these guys ended their lives anyways. So what they recommended to actually prevent this is shoulder-to-shoulder activities for men only. Get a group of men and do a podcast, go hiking together, go somewhere together, and a purpose, and this kind of motivation, because it's the same like they found out with depressed men and women. Depressed women need a lot of love and understanding. That's usually something that helps. But depressed men often need a purpose and motivation. It's different.
So absolutely.
Right? So that has been found to really prevent men from doing these things, horrible things to themselves, to really have these shoulder-to-shoulder activities, to feel that they belong. A sense of belonging and purpose was very important, is very important. That's why I also do a Zoom call like once a month where all of my email subscribers can register for. They can kind of register once, and then every time it is, they can always join. And I don't charge for that because I want them to be there to share with other parents. Sometimes there is a woman in there who's maybe a daughter or someone who also wants this kind of information and help. But it's a safe, closed space where no strangers are going to come in who are just looking, what is this, or asking stupid questions. So it's a very nice space for all of them, and they can come on it or just listen or take notes or ask me questions, and I'm going to give answers. So that's why I do them, because I think it really helps people. And of course, if someone in there says, oh, I like this, can I work with you personally because I have a lot of stuff here to work on? Okay, fine. You know, let's have another appointment and let's talk only to you.
Yes. So like you said earlier about Instagram and the comments and everything, again, if maybe when this does get put on the page, if you can just share that information with everybody, because I think that, you know, that would be a great help for people that have those feelings of being lost. And it sometimes is better to be able to sit there and listen to other people talk. And that's, you know, because you said it's a safe space.
Yeah.
That's what that is exactly what we're looking for. As a man, that's exactly what I look for, is that safe space where you can share these stories without being judged, with the understanding and the compassion, because these people have been through this, you know, and you're seeing this, you're hearing their stories, and there's no shame in sharing your own story. And I think that, you know, it would be great if you can share that information with everybody.
I just commented Jana Coaching, which is my profile. Go on that here on Instagram and click on the link that is available there. And there you're going to see a form to subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. If you don't like the newsletter, you can unsubscribe. It doesn't matter. But wait till you get your first couple of emails. One of the emails has the invitation. So with one click, you can register for these monthly meetings, and you can hop in every time that I do it if you want, or just sometimes. So this is what you get in my newsletter. It's not invasive. I don't email you shit every day. I don't try to sell you stuff every day. So it's only once, twice a week that I send some interesting information and experience a client of mine has that maybe can help you. I share stuff that can be interesting to you to also share, but it's not a really invasive or harassing newsletter where you feel that I'm, you know, in your inbox every single day. But just do that, and please share it with other people. They can all subscribe, even if it's just to use these Q&A talks that I do. I don't mind. They don't have to receive the newsletter if they don't want to. But I think it's a good way to just be there and have that space. Of course, on that link on my profile, you find everything else. Book a first consultation or donate. Some people ask me, like, where can I donate a few bucks for your business? Because I know you're trying to build this, you know, as good as possible to reach more people. It always is difficult when you start something like that yourself. So every donation and support is appreciated. If you want to pick the option, get my book. I have an ebook that I wrote. It's about to be published soon, so it's on Kindle books and on Amazon as well. It's called Father-Daughter Reconnection, The Basics. For many fathers, it's really a game changer. I don't know if there is many books like that are very much practical. What do you say? What you don't say? How do you approach that? How do you behave in the first appointment? What do you need to know so you deal with the emotions that come from her better? So you can do that too. Or you can directly say, look, I don't know what I need, but okay, let's subscribe. So I come to the Q&A and I see what this is about. So you don't have to buy anything from me. I just want you to use what is useful to you. And if you don't want to work with the link on Instagram, I don't care. Go to the website. It's linked on there as well, right at the bottom. I'm going to comment it here as well.
And all this information will be put online as well, so that it can be at any time. And, you know, I want to thank you very much, Jana, for everything that you do for dads.
Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate it. I know that all my supporters, they appreciate you, because there's not many of you out there that have our back, that listen to us, and that can fully understand, you know, what we go through. So
it is hard.
I appreciate everything that you're doing. continue your great work. And I also wanted to pick up that, you know, donations are very important for
Yes.
people like us to continue this work to raise the awareness, because most of us are unpaid, but we're still doing
Yes,
it out.
or yes, exactly. Or we've been working on this for a long time. We've been posting new content for free consistently, no matter if it's a holiday, if it's a Sunday, if you're sick, you do it just to be there so that people have the consistency. I mean, I want to make this very clear, guys. If I was only about selling my programs, I could pay somebody to market that only and not be really on social media. But I do it because it's important for people to be picked up and to see that there is something that they might need. I get so many fathers writing in saying, look, actually only by watching your content, your lives, I actually already, you know, took it in my own hands and fought for my kids. And before that, I didn't know I could have support and I could actually do that, or that other fathers get positive outcomes if they know, you know, where to get the help. So that's why I do it. And it happens often that people might think we make a lot of money by doing this, but we actually don't, when the structure still is very simple. You don't have the support. I mean, I started this myself. I didn't have a husband who said, okay, if this is like your hobby, you know, I'm going to pay for it or fund it. It has always been what I do. This is not my side thing or my hobby. This is what I do, what I pay my bills with. And I do it really with, I mean, I do it because I really love what I do. If I wanted to do something that is less stressful or less sad, I could go and sell houses or post whatever, you know. There are so many ladies who make way more money than I do only posting makeup from brands that are not even theirs, which is cool, you know, make the money. I think it's awesome that we can do this nowadays, you know, that moms can make a great income being online. But maybe I should do something on the side that is like fun, you know, and more superficial to find my balance. Because that's what some people have told me lately, because I was invited to bigger networks. People said things like that I just lure and seduce men into paying me. It was horrible. And I was like, come on, guys. I mean, I said what I do and what I listen to every day, it makes the average person cry. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
And you need to be made, yeah, and you need to be, I think, especially nerdy, strange kind of person to be able to do this. And yeah, probably my upbringing or the way that I am just helped me be able to do this. But yes, some days I also need to be doing something else because I also need to find the balance, and it's not easy. So when people think it is just normal to pay 20K to a lawyer to do some paperwork, but then they say, oh, your coaching is very expensive. I say, no, compared to what?
Exactly.
And it is not. And it is not easy. If you have to pay for your own advertising, you have to hire an assistant because you cannot be everywhere all the time. You know, there is a lot of trial and error, and I just want to grow, not to be a millionaire. I just want to grow to be able to create more useful things for people, more easy to use tools. So not everyone needs to book me one-on-one. They can maybe download something. So this takes time to do it when you do everything yourself. And that's why I just appreciate everybody who says, look, it's not a lot, but I can donate something, because it will always be put to good use. It will always help, so I can get out another book that can help people, so I can build a little program that is affordable so people don't have to book me one-on-one, which is a different kind of energy and time investment for me. Of course, if I do an intensive 6 weeks or 3 months program with you where we're in touch every single day, where I build content only for you, or we have sessions all the time, that is time that is taken away from me and my family, for example. And it's fine. That's the way it is. But of course, you know, that time is valuable. So I'm not going to do it for $50 an hour. That is a different kind of investment. But it's fine. You know, some people go to a retreat 2 days to learn about scaling a business, and they pay 100K. You know, so
I agree.
Right? I always say, comparing to what? It's fine. If you don't want to invest it, it's fine. I don't look down on you. Take the free stuff, do a full session now and then. I can guide you anyway. So yeah, that's just for people to maybe imagine a little bit more what my daily life, what my work looks like. Because many people, I think, have a very distorted version or, you know, image in their head of what I do. Some people think, oh, she only does it to gain attention from men. or to be relevant in some way, or I don't know. But okay, let them think whatever they do. In the end, it's what comes with the game. It's
You're exactly right.
what comes with it, and I just take it as a package.
Yep. And that's what you have to do. You're going to have people that are going to be judgmental. You're going to have people
Yes.
that are not going to like what you're doing. But also you're going to have a lot of people that they may not support you, but they're watching your every single move. So
They do.
What I mean, and it's not about what they think. It's about what you think. And because of what I do, I believe in my truth. So I know what the truth is. The universe knows what my truth is. And that's why I keep my head up high every single day. And I continue on this path because I know that it's the right thing to do. And it's the right thing to do as well. This is absolutely your calling. And you're making waves for men all over the globe because of what you do. So again, the appreciation is never going to end. I just want to mention, I appreciate it. I just wanted to mention that 11/11. So I am now going to cut it because, like I said, you got to find a balance.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank everybody this morning for tuning in for this special live. Like I said, this was dedicated to my kids. I'd also like to dedicate it to all the dads out there that are not going to be able to see their father on this Sunday for Father's Day. You're not alone. I will be going live on Sunday for 4 hours so that if there's any fathers out there that are struggling, that need to talk, you can talk with me. We're all there for you. Again, Jana, I appreciate your time this morning. I hope that everybody can take at least one thing away from this conversation that we had. That's the information that you gave, the facts, the truth about what happens with parental alienation, with fathers all over the world and with children all over the world. So, I just want to thank you for being the voiceless, because, there has to be people like us that can share this information and be the voice for the voiceless. Again, for the men that are not here, for the men that go through this every day, and most importantly for our kids, because they cannot speak on these matters.
No, they cannot. So we have to be there for them. And if we can inspire even one person today to do something different that might help them or others, it's fine. And please share this live. Use the share buttons. Share it on Telegram. Share it on other places where your friends or people who might need it can use it, because that might be a real game changer for someone out there that you still, don't know that they're dealing with this. So share it. And thank you for having me. I saw that you're having Coutinho as well.
Yes, I'll be speaking with Coutinho later this evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So,
awesome. He's such a nice gentleman. You can see, incredible emotional intelligence. I was so pleased to be on his platform as well. So, well done. I think many people will love to listen to him too.
I
a great person to talk to. Yes. Also on a human level, I found him to be incredibly inspirational and so kind. So let everybody speak. It's great to have the attention from all kinds of people, no matter who you are, where you're from. So thanks to all of you. It always humbles me to get people to like what I do or to tell me that. So thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Jana, and we'll speak soon. Thank you very much.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. So I'm going to say it over and over because I have much gratitude for anybody that stands up to this for the children. We are actually doing what's in the best interest of the children. We will continue to do what's in the best interest of the children, and we will make change. I believe it. I have always believed it, and we're all going to witness it. One final note is that I want everybody to remove fear and stand tall with your head high, always. Now, we're making progress. You just can never give up on that. Continue to believe it. You know what? Because you didn't come this far to only come this far. Now, no matter what, you're not alone. Now, thank you for watching. Please like and share this video. And if you haven't followed either myself or Jana, please do so. Please share this video. Again, Father's Day is Sunday. I will be here. There will be no judgment. I will listen. So keep strong, everybody. Just believe. And happy Father's Day to all. Peace. And we'll see you at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time with my guest, Katino Mobley.